guys, and glad to have you on board again. Today is still the same old weekly updates, looking at the same old indicators and trying to figure out what value is doing and what prices are behaving according to this. In that perspective, we're going to do the same old analysis, but let me just be real clear. There are not that many changes as of what's been said last week. Pretty much dealing with the same prices now and haven't given us that many new informations. So we're not going to add up of what's been said last week. Let me be real clear. All of the ranges are mature now. There's not even a chance we can forecast which side are we going to break out. I still have my personal favorite for slightly more upside potential, but this is also something I have to be real clear about. Momentum is now standing pretty much boring at a zero level, which means we have equal strength on the bull to the bear side. Even though I think bulls are gaining recent strength more than the bears, that simply means as long as momentum is locked around the zero value, no one is actually really controlling prices, okay? So ranges are mature on the lower chart time frame. We've made boundaries. Let me give it a second to clocks, but this is definitely this, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4th range boundary. 5th one is now locked in, and we're waiting for a breakout. We know what the range is looking like. It is pretty much something like a flag, and we're going to see either we break it down or succeed going to the upside again. I goddamn don't know. I have my personal favorite outcome because we're terminating a bearish cycle, leading me to believe that as long as the bulls hold on to their side, they're very likely going to push a bull cycle out of this, and we will luckily at least get to the upper area where we'll find the resistance context, the moving averages, and all those things. So that's the reason why I'm still slightly more bullish than bearish. But let me be real honest, that means the range is mature, so there's nothing we can do out of these time frame. We really need to be cautious and patient. Can we go out there to just try setting some stop losses and something like that? I definitely stand that it is possible, but do we have reasonably more probabilities to go right there rather than there? Yes, I'm also taking that bet. So the thing is that if you figured it out, it's most likely that the current price structure is forecasting no more than the stupidest ever risk-reward ratio. Let me just pull it to the daily chart so you'll see it clearly. Like we stated, either we're going to go for these trend line in here, okay, the trend channel, okay, this is no more than the extension of these two bottoms projected through time, just like this is in here, waiting for the third range boundary area, okay? So we're waiting pretty much at retracing to the upper area of the previous resistance territory, but until then, as you can see, going out there or going up there is equally distanced. That's definitely why we do bullshit in the short run, because market makers are pricing in the probabilities of both case scenarios. There's probably going to be one winning over the others because I doubt we can do both. But let me be real honest, I think the bears have their definite targets out there and they might have reasonable reasons to go down there, even though I personally doubt this is the most accurate forecast to make. Just like I think the bulls, which is my current stance, are targeting pretty much the same targets in terms of distance. So it is a 1-to-1 ratio rather the upside to the downside, which means it's a matter of probabilities. Even though I think probabilities are slightly more to the upside, like I stated, momentum currently is going on a draw. So no one's winning, no one's losing, and until then, the only problem is time. This is the reason why I clearly don't understand people who are actively trading right now. Because purely statistically speaking, we've got 50-50% chances because I have my personal favorites. I've got some opponents who might have good reasons to be looking to downside, which I personally disagree with because we just terminated a bear cycle and they have much more attractive upside potential than to the downside. Still, I have not enough confidence and signal to bet on these options. I had when we were on support territory. Now that we're pretty much drying in between, well, I don't nearly give a fuck. Either I'm going to be right or wrong, but I've already made my bets when it was my time to do so. And that's the reason why I think upside potential is much more likely to be the one chosen by the market, because the last controlled areas was by the bulls. I think right now bears will have their time, but I think it's not now. For the reasons we've talked about last week, we never sell below 50% context. So no one should rationally be selling now unless prices pull above $1.6 trillion mark. And in that perspective, we're not yet there, leading me to believe that this is where we're going. When is not something I can answer now. Time is of the essence in trading, and especially when we have mature ranges like we've seen we do. So in that perspective, either you are the stupidest gambler to get into betting as of current prices, because no one knows where to go. It's definitely at the current level 50-50 with equal gains to the risk you're willing to take if you bet one side rather than the other. So let me be real honest. Go play roulette. You've got the same probabilities, but you've got something on top of this. You can control time. When the thing starts to roll, you know the game is going to be settled in less than a minute, which is not the case for trading. Do you have any rational information that would tell you that we're going to do things by this date or this date? Because if you do, then you're not a trader. We have absolutely no timing information in trading, at least not now. So you're going onto a road, onto a trip, which you don't know anything about how long it's going to take. And that means a lot of psychological assessment will probably alter your scenario. So you basically have 50-50 chances, but on top of that, you're going to add up some psychological biases, which will inevitably lower the expected returns in the end. So it's an uninteresting game by definition, statistically speaking, and you're adding psychological bias on top of it. So it's just a recipe for disaster. You definitely don't want to trade the current prices. Either you're already in if you're a buyer and you're going to wait to be either proven right or wrong. And if you're a bear, you should patiently wait for more attractive prices, period. So that means we could stop this weekly update right now. I basically have got nothing else to add up. We're going to have a quick look at the Bitcoin dominance, but to be real honest, this is the same story out there. I still believe that there is a slight more downside potential in here, trying to look for this support and eventually trying to break it if we can succeed getting out there, but still. As of right now, I think that this is just a boring range getting to slowly but steadily mature itself. We have these trend line, which mean I think this one is going to be broken down, and we're going to probably find some support in the dominance in between. So below these trend line, because we always break trend lines in ranges. But secondly, we want to probably hold on to the support, because the support trend channel is still rising in here, and I think it's going to be supportive. So there might be a slight move to the downside in terms of dominance, which means I would favor altcoins if we end up having some momentum. But until the Bitcoin global market or crypto global market doesn't give us any momentum, well, either you're going to invent it or you're going to have to wait for it. So it's more like it's going to be a signal-driven market in which most market participants basically wait for something to happen. And the professionals will wait. The beginners probably will suffer the same old overtrading biases, willing to anticipate something that is still not showing up just because they're boast for action. This is not what trading is made out of, so please be patient. Learn patient, even if that means learning it the hard way. Take on your impatience biases. These are definitely the times in which you can efficiently work around these things. They are natural psychological biases that you can work yourself around. It just takes a long time to process, but it's definitely doable. All right, so as of what's been said, we need to wait for a momentum to drive this market upside, downside, whoever knows. It's just that if it's any direction, normally altcoins should slightly outperform Bitcoin. So expect a bit of reduced downside possibilities. If that's the downside move that is taken, I think Bitcoin might be the one to lose the most. That doesn't mean altcoins won't suffer. That just means I think they can absorb the downside move slightly better than Bitcoin as long as we are into this market stance. Don't forget that otherwise option could be leading us to the 38% Fibonacci retracement, which I still think is not necessarily the current market outcome. I think we are much more attracted by this area. So as you can see, same old 1-to-1 ratios. Jesus, why would you like to bet on one side rather than the other? I just clearly stand for what I said. There's nothing to do out of these markets. If there was anything to be done, it should be done by now. And you only have to wait to have it validated or invalidated as well, because everything seems to be probable at that point. See you guys in a week. I'm sorry, I wish there would be more things to talk about, but they are definitely not. So, see you 7 days from now, hopefully with a bit of volatility. Otherwise, it will be just the same old story. Technicals do update, but they do move very slowly, and if price don't move, then the forecasts don't change at all.